So I want to tell you quickly about a couple other aspects to the project. One is systematic social observation. We ask people what they think. Collective efficacy, cynicism. What we can see and observe is also important. So we drove around in sport utility vehicles with cameras in the back and videotaped 22,000 street blocks in Chicago. And we coded disorder. Now this, I could talk for an hour. I love this stuff because broken windows, you all know about that. There's a lot of rich theoretical material here. Do broken windows cause crime? What is the effect of disorder? What is this picture? There's an actual picture in Chicago. Is this disorder? Is that art on the wall? Is that gang graffiti or these kids? There's arguments that this kind of disorder affects crime, health, migration. Well, we looked at this. To anticipate, I do think cues of disorder are important. But what we found is what's really more important are the perceptions that surround them, more so than the actual, like say, the number of bottles or the number of garbage or the amount of graffiti on the wall is less important than the perceptions. And that's important because the perceptions are what really drive the change. And in sort of a theoretical analysis, we looked at how individuals position actual disorder in a community predicted perceived disorder. But what we found was that when you control for what you can actually see, the amount of disorder in an environment, that the characteristics of the population, for example, the concentration of immigrant groups, concentration of minority groups, predicted a greater perception of disorder. And that was true even for immigrant, first generation, second immigrant groups, and for whites, blacks, Latinos. In other words, everyone is affected by this. And people who live in the same neighborhood, the same block group, they're having the same amount of disorder in that they have very differing interpretations. Some people think it's a problem, some people don't. That seems to me a real challenge to law enforcement because you can't assume then that there's a uniform response to disorder. It also means not that broken windows is unimportant, but that if you change that disorder or if let's say you clean up that particular neighborhood, you may or may not get the difference you expect based on the context in which it occurs.